in Revelation, it says that in the end days, plague of locusts will emerge from the abyss. But they will not look like ordinary insects, but they will have supernatural attributes and be mechanical in nature. There's this AI entity that is controlling all the drones. What are your thoughts on the drones?
So the drones that I'm aware of is what Danny Jones and Julian Dory were talking about on their shows, and that we've talked about because I text them and we text back and forth. And they are both big conspiracy theorists. Danny was telling me what Julian thinks. So initially, he was thinking they were military drones that, for some reason, the government didn't want to tell everybody what these drones were, and that they had a viable lead that said that Iran had snuck like a dirty bomb or something into the United States and was going to blow it up during one of Trump's speeches or something. Whatever they wanted him gone and they were going to blow it up. I want to say Julian believed it was going to happen during the Army-Navy game. Mm. This was months ago, right? Or a month or so ago. And he believed that that's what was going to happen, or that it was possible that's what was going to happen, and that the military knew roughly the area they believed that this dirty bomb was in. And I say dirty bomb, I'm throwing dirty bomb in there because I'm assuming that the Iranians can't put together a regular bomb. But the truth is, maybe it was a regular one. I don't know. Suitcase bomb. Maybe the suitcase is a small bomb, but that's still not a dirty bomb. That's a legitimate bomb. You know what I'm saying? A suitcase bomb could be 2-3 times the yield. What was it? 40 megatons of Hiroshima or something. They could still be huge. Like those small bombs that they had to put the size of a car could fit into a suitcase now. So, but let's assume that either way, if they could just come up with the material, they could come with a dirty bomb. So, whatever. So let's say they had some kind of bomb. Whatever it was putting off enough of a signature that the military had drones that they had circling, looking for these bombs or the signature, so they could pinpoint it and grab them. Now I'm assuming they didn't grab anything because that's something that they would have broken their own arms trying to pat themselves on the back if they said, yes, we had drones, we were prepared for this, we found it, we raided the house, we grabbed the bomb, everything is safe. That's what I think they probably would do to let everybody know, we're on it, we got you.
Do you think that they would announce that? Because by announcing it, then people are like, holy crap, there's dirty bombs, there's nuclear bombs in the homeland of the United States. And then they probably take on some culpability because how did the bomb get in here in the first place? Probably came up through the southern border.
I would like to think that they would, but you're probably right. That's something they'd probably still bury.
I don't think that the Biden administration would take responsibility for anything bad that happened. I don't think any administration, for that matter.
But I don't think. To me, I would come out and say, listen, this is what happened. Like they got it in here. They shouldn't have. They did, but we were prepared. We got it. I think that's what you do just to get more money. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of thing that they do. Is they let you know there's this horrible thing that's happening, and the only way to fix it is we're going to tax you more, so we can get more money, so we can dump more money into security
and usher in this further surveillance state.
Right. And what I was going to say, and then Trump, of course, I don't think he would have a problem saying that, because then he gets to blame somebody, right? He gets to blame the Biden administration. Well, they weren't strong on this, but we're going to fix that, and but then again, he's not in yet. But he said something where he's like, look, I know about the drone situation. We know what it is. We know what they are. Why they're not telling the American people. He said, I don't know. Then well,
he said he's not going to travel to Bedminster, New Jersey for the foreseeable future because, he said, I'm not going to New Jersey. There's something going on there. I can't blame him. Right now they're moving, I guess, his inauguration inside because it's quote unquote too cold, but maybe it's because they just don't feel they can secure the perimeter. Maybe. Like that guy is a magnet for bullets, He's living a dangerous life, man.
You've had more attempts on your life when you weren't president than the current president.
Yeah.
So, what kills me about that too is how upset everybody is, and how how people are willing to take, take the, I guess the current political climate into their own hands, instead of saying, hey, more than half the country voted for this man to be president. That's just the way it is. Like, that's the same way with Biden. Whether you believe they were stuffing ballots or they weren't, he won the presidency. That's the way it is. This is the way our system works. Step back, let it run its course. You don't get to go out there and start popping people.
No.
I mean, and not just that, but Biden was there for 4 years, and was it a great presidency? Probably not, in my opinion, but I survived it. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think so. But I think the issue as well, Matt, is I think most regular Americans are like, okay, whatever, the president's coming in. The issue, I think, is that Trump was kind of like an M80 in the middle of the government, like just huge, like no more uniparty. You're bringing in a wild card, and there's a lot of bureaucracy, huge bureaucratic organizations that don't want that, because they feel their deep state influence being dragged away. They're like, oh, we got the wild card coming in. You got a business guy coming in. He's gonna, he's bringing Elon for efficiency. We can't have that. We can't have efficiency. We need the bloat. We need the budgets. We need the funding. It comes down to money and power.
Listen, he. I mean, I don't know about an M80. I mean, it's like he throws like it's a dozen hand grenades. Like I said, I love watching it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's great. But my only problem right now is that because of the elections, during the month of November, YouTube just went. Our viewers would just shot straight down, and of course everything's connected to views and watch time, right? Bad month in November. Then he gets elected, and then I thought, okay, after he's elected, people will start watching content again. And then what happened in December is the numbers stayed down because people were watching like, what's he gonna do? Now it's January, they're still down because now they're like, he's about to be in. It's like, when is this going to end? And then I already know that when he gets in, we got February and March where he's going to disrupt the entire system. That's going to be even more people pulling away, watching, their normal content. They're going to be watching more political content. So this guy's killing me right now. As much as I like seeing, I guess from now on it'll be shorts and reels. As much as I like watching this stuff and it just cracks me up, the fact that it's pulling away from views from my channel is, while I'm saying, yeah, this is great. Oh my gosh, I can't believe he said this, and oh my gosh, I can't believe they said that, and I can't believe, and I'm going back and forth. I'm watching my numbers die.
Well, the other thing that happens, I'm in new media. I own a media agency. We're producing thousands and thousands of pieces of content every month for YouTubers, podcasters, etc. Is traditional media, the views are way down. Like nobody is watching MSNBC, nobody's watching CNN anymore.
They were watching YouTube.
Well, and that's the point. I think that these big organizations are saying people aren't watching us through traditional cable or dish or whatever. We're going to start putting much larger emphasis on YouTube and new media. And so not only are they funneling a lot more of their content focus there, they're funneling millions and millions of dollars to promote. I'll give you an example. I was running a promotion for a client of mine. Matt, we spent $100 promoting videos. We picked up 3,000 subscribers in 2 weeks. So $100, 3,000 subscribers, plus sending traffic to the newsletter. There's, I think, a huge opportunity there for an organizations, big traditional news organizations see that. And then what happens? Well, now it's harder for independent creators like us to be at the top of the page because you've got huge organizations like CNN's, MSNBC's coming in, pouring in hundreds of millions of dollars to be at the top of the charts. So, it's going to be really interesting to see how news plays out on these new platforms or on these new distribution channels.
Well, they come in, they've already got millions of, you know what I'm saying? Like some of these, News Nation.
Even Piers Morgan.
Oh, he's huge. Yeah, he started off. He's got a 2-3 million viewers right now on YouTube, and that's not even like his main platform.
He's,
right?
well,
Like,
he's a YouTuber. He's not. He's not in a studio. He's just been in the industry a long time, so he has his own little home studio. He zooms people in to yell at each other, and that's his show.
Oh, I thought it was just YouTube. I thought he was on the national. Like he doesn't have like a national platform.
No,
like ABC. Okay,
he's a YouTuber.
I don't know.
Well, because that's traditionally what he's been. He's been with the the BBC or whatever. But he's just
it
he's
looks like he's got the setup where it looks like the news.
Yeah.
So what do you think the drones are? We're back to the drones because we got off the segue.
I personally, I think it's U.S. military testing, and there's a possibility there could be some sort of like a boiling pot syndrome going on, right? So we start introducing drone surveillance, and we are peppering them in. People get used to seeing drones in the news, drones in the news, drones in the news. All of a sudden, there's a bill that passes. All of a sudden, you got drones all over the place, surveilling 5G all over the place. So I would probably say it's more of a psyop to kind of
get you acclimated to the environment, to
exactly
seeing these things. So why are they doing them at night? Why not do them during the day?
Well, the theory there is kind of like you mentioned before. They're trying to find radioactive material. It's easier to find radioactive material at night, but I don't have a specific theory on that. I definitely don't think it's UFOs or aliens or anything like that.
UFOs. Did you ever see the movie They Live? Roddy Piper is just a normal guy. He's kind of a guy going from homeless shelter to homeless, kind of just reminds me of the Stallone character in Rambo, kind of just hitchhiking through the world. And he's just kind of a regular guy, picking up an odd job here, an odd job here, got his backpack, like just walking around. And he ends up, something happens where I want to say it's a robbery or something, where he ends up disrupting some kind of robbery. And these guys, they drop a bunch of boxes. So there's a bunch of boxes, and one of the boxes spills over or something, or maybe it was a robbery that he was involved in. I don't know what happened, but there's a bunch of boxes, and a bunch of these glasses fall out. They look like the old Ray-Bans, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And he grabs some of them, and he's walking down the street, and he puts one on, and when he puts it on, everything's black and white. He takes it, and he's like, "What the hell?" It's like, what? And they make him feel kind of give you a little bit of a headache after you wear them too long. So he puts them on, and as he puts them on and he's walking, he's kind of like, this is weird. He's looking around, but when he looks up at the street signs, it'll say Bob's Supermarket. But when he puts the glasses on, it says obey. He's like, the hell? And he puts them on at obey, and he notices another sign. The sign says whatever, buy State Farm insurance, but he looks at it and it says, obey your masters, or it says, consume, or it says, don't question the government. Like, there's signs everywhere that say these things, and he's like, what the hell? And then as he's walking, he keeps putting them back on because they kind of hurt a little bit. You have to get used to them, I guess. So you put them on, and people are walking towards him, but they're not people. They're like aliens, but not like they're different. They're just like a normal person, but you can tell they almost have no skin or something. Like they're like a gray, but a really ugly gray.
Ooh, yeah.
And so
okay.
he's like, what the hell? And then, the one will look up and be like, what's your problem? He's like, what's my problem? He's like, and then he another thing he notices, there are drones. Drones are like going down the streets, but he takes them off and it's not there. But they're everywhere. I can't believe you've never watched it.
I gotta see it. It sounds great.
It's great because it's a whole thing where he realizes that basically, aliens, it's almost like we're like a resort destination to them. Where they can come and do whatever they want, and behave how they want, and we're just here to kind of as entertainment for them.
Yeah.
And but it's funny because what's really you're seeing one thing, but you put the glasses on, you realize something completely different is going on.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I feel and I didn't always feel this way. It's not till in the last probably 4 or 5 years, and it's very gradual. It's probably in the last couple of years where Julian and Danny are 100% all in on all of these different conspiracies. Like they believe that the pyramids are were once batteries for generating energy for spaceships, and like they got like all the craziness they believe. You might believe that too. I don't know. But the point is like all these insane theories that I'm like, you're insane. Like I'm better off believing. I mean, I'm okay believing the did you ever see the I keep going back to movies. Did you ever see the Mike Myers movie where his dad believes like the Pantera is they meet triannually to determine the fate of the world and what's happening, and so it was like a big joke, right? Like these people that believe like the Masons are running everything, or
Sure.
It's like this kind of this joke that's been going on for 20, 30 years. But as things are happening and as these apps and these social media platforms are putting things together, some of it's still insanity, but some of it seems like it's making sense. And
the problem is more and more conspiracy theories, quote unquote, turn out to be true.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, it opens you up to believing more of these conspiracy theories, like the Wuhan lab, quote unquote, conspiracy theory. Now it's kind of like, oh, obviously there was a Wuhan lab leak.
They were just mocking the shit. Like the media was mocking the hell out of Trump when he would say the Chinese virus. Yeah, well, it came from China, it came from the lab. They're like, no, sir, that's that's not what's happening. They and of course now
the gaslighting
10 years ago, 10 years, or sorry, 3 or 4 years later, it's true. They never come back and say, wow, like we were mocking you about that and you were actually right about that. Like they don't ever come back and say those things. Like, yeah, that was my bad. Didn't mean to do that. Didn't realize, you know what? You were right on that.
The legacy media consistently lied openly. They shot themselves in the foot so many times that all the credibility is gone, right? I just don't see how they can actually continue to survive. You can only, you lie to me once, shame on you. Lie to me twice, shame on me. Like, why would I keep buying it? Like, even more recently, I have some liberal friends, when they heard Obama share the very fine people on both sides hoax.
Yeah.
You familiar?
Yeah.
He says it, and it's like that's been debunked. Trump said very good people on both sides, not talking about white supremacists. They should be condemned totally.
Right. No, they cut that part out.
They're still running, but they're still running with it.
Right.
You can't. You can't continue to run with that. Although eventually people are going to be like, okay, I can't believe anything you say, because because I know that you're lying to me openly to my face about something, and you just continue to do it. The gaslighting has just reached unprecedented levels. And
what about Trump right now suing them? Is it ABC or CBS? I forget who he's suing, but they're already talking about trying to, like, he's got like a $400 million lawsuit or something, and they're already trying to asking to settle it. And he's saying, no, I'm going all the way there. They're like, no, let's settle. Of course you want to settle. You guys are constantly settling. When you're blatantly lying all the time, you have to start settling. I can't go to trial.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't want to go to trial where they're going to invite cameras in or the media in and the truth may be exposed. God forbid. I don't want that to happen. Let's settle.
Yeah. Just the lying has to stop. I mean, obviously you're going to make mistakes, especially with something like the drones. Like there's so many different potential reasons why we could be seeing these drones.
The psyop, like you're saying the psyop that you're saying that they're trying to slowly get us to be okay with seeing drones in the air. Well, it's the same kind of thing as, like, to me, the aliens thing. You were mocked mercilessly when I was growing up. If somebody said that they had seen like a UFO or something, you would have mocked that person is losing their job. Nobody will ever take them seriously. You're a joke for the rest of your life. But now the Navy's talking about that. Now they got videos of UFOs, and pilots all over the place are coming out saying, yeah, I've seen them.
I think, Matt, we're living through a day and age where AI and visual effects and reality is so easily distorted that I don't discount necessarily anything
Yeah,
from
you
anyone.
really can, or you end up feeling foolish later.
Yeah, well, you have to. I'll question things. I think it's smart. I honestly, I think we have to question everything. Are you familiar with that show Catfish on MTV?
Yeah.
So the show Catfish,
still going?
I think so.
Forever. That's been forever.
So you have these people going back and
I
forth,
watched that
and
in prison.
fair. Pretty popular show. But
Yeah.
what would never happen? There would never be a video call between the person who's being catfished and the person who is pretending to be someone else. They would never get on video calls. They had the big aha moment at the end where they meet up in person and they're like, "Holy cow! I never knew it was you."
Yeah.
Well, now with AI, deepfake technology, filter technology, you could easily have a video call with someone, put an overlay over your face, and you could be anyone and anything. So I just look at that as, how far have we come where I could actually have a video call with you and I could superimpose my face to be any person, any voice pretty easily using some pretty basic AI technology. So we have to kind of question everything, I think, is
So two things. One, this is funny. I do interviews for Home Title Lock, which is a company that protects people, protects homeowners against title theft. So they monitor your title, and if something happens to your title, then they notify you and say, "Hey, did you just transfer the deed to your house?" And then you're like, "No, I didn't." And then of course they contact the law enforcement. They file something on you. They have a whole series of things that they do to try and stop whatever's happening. Someone's selling your house, whatever. They do a whole thing. And then if something does happen, they actually will hire an attorney and they'll fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I do these interviews, right? And I've been interviewed by everybody, Steve Bannon, like what's the cop, the former cop? Oh gosh, Officer Tate. There's 5 or 6 of these guys that I've been interviewed by, and people send me stuff because they see me doing these interviews. People contact me all the time, and send me stuff. Somebody sent me a video the other day where this person was selling their house, and they did, because you don't have to show up for a closing in most states, right?
Sure.
There's like 13 states where I think you still have to show up. Most of them, if you're just selling the house, you don't have to show up. You do what's called it's a remote closing, and you have a remote notary.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have to see you, so you have to do like a Zoom thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the buyer and the real estate agent and the title person all on camera. And you've got the seller. Now, before the closing, when they sign the sales contract, they got a copy of the driver's license. Okay, they fax it or they email it to you. You sign it, you send it back, copy of your driver's license. That's fine. Then you go to the closing, and at the closing, the closing agent, like in most states, it's a closing agent. There are some states where it's a real estate attorney, whatever. The closing person is there watching this or having this conversation on Zoom. And they're sending documents back and forth. And the woman, they ask her at one point, like, "Can you send us a copy of your driver's license?" She does. And they said it was definitely looked like the woman in the driver's license. But while they're talking, and nobody else notices but the title person, not the real estate agent, not the buyer. While they're talking, first of all, this is what the person looked like, right? They're standing there like this. It's an older woman, and she's kind of doing this. It's kind of just it's
moving side to side just slightly.
It's very odd, like not moving. It's almost like a photograph, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a photograph because the person talks, but when it's not talking, it doesn't do the normal things that a person does. Like it does blink, but it's this weird kind of bobbing motion.
Yeah.
And so the person asked the title person asked them some questions. So this was a reel or something that I got from somebody who's like, "Bro, check this out." And this was somebody who had been interviewed for a TV for like a news program, saying, "Listen to this. This is how insane it's getting." And while they're talking, so the woman says to her, "Hey, Mrs. So-and-so, ask her a question." And then there's a moment of pause, and then she's like, "Yes, that's fine." It's like, okay. And they were like, but it didn't seem natural. And keep in mind, most people aren't watching. Nobody else noticed. They just want to sign and get it. Like, I'm not trying to figure out if this is fraud, if this is a real person, but the notary wants to make sure this is the real person.
Sure.
And most notaries don't care. I got the ID. Yeah, it looks like her. Great. I'm going to email you this, sign this, email it back. We're done.
Right.
Just happened this woman noticed it. And at one point, she's like, can you raise your left hand? And she sat there. Okay. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and then I'm going to need you to raise your left hand. You know what I'm saying? She started asking her to do things.
Right.
Wouldn't do it. And then eventually they just turned it off. This was somebody in, I hate to say this, I'm going to say India. India or, Nigeria or wherever Pakistan, wherever the scammers are,
Yeah.
Like some scammer who, had this bot that probably would have, or AI generated old woman that would have probably passed muster pretty much with anybody. This woman just happened to catch it.
Yeah.
It was insane. And the other thing, have you seen these masks?
Oh yeah, dude. They're like these not vinyl. They're like a fabric mask.
It's like a rubber mask.
Yeah,
it's amazing, and you can put them on. And they're saying, because I watched a thing on it where they were saying, you don't understand. They're so good, you can have a conversation, and it's borderline passable.
Yeah.
Now, could you imagine putting that on and it being and being on a Zoom?
Oh
It's
yeah,
definitely passable on a Zoom. You put on an old man mask.
You could put it through even a voice filter on Zoom, something like that.
You could, or you don't even need one because they don't know what the guy sounds like. Like they were trying to steal this woman's identity. To me, with the driver's license, I'll just put the picture of the mask on there.
Yeah.
I'll take a bunch of pictures of the mask with a thing. I'll take a picture because you're not sending them physical ID. I'll just make a fake ID and have it on there and show it to them, scan it, send it to them when they say, "Oh yeah, no problem. I'm here, ready to go."
I watched a video.
My left hand, sorry.
I saw this video. This guy is walking around New York City. He's got like, I don't even know what the material is. It's like a nylon mask. You just pull over your head, and on the front of it, it's got a picture of like Kanye. And people are like stopping to take selfies with him, like Kanye. It's just a dude wearing this black nylon mask with a picture of Kanye on the front.
Bean Shooter has one. It's like it's a stocking. It's a stock. It's
exactly
yeah. But I'm talking about like the real mask that you can make. These things are insane.
Right. It's like it's literally Mission Impossible from 20 years ago, where Tom Cruise just rips off like, "Oh, it was you this whole time, Jack Ryan, whatever." It's a wild time.
If I was active. Ooh, boy.
Well, you could go to the other side and help people put.
They don't pay
implementations in place. Yeah,
helping people fix fraud doesn't pay.
Yeah.
Fraud pays. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Things are a little backwards. Yeah. Yeah.
So the drones, that's it. Military, that's it.
That would be my stance. But I'll go even a level deeper on the drones. So I was watching a video of these drones, this huge drone swarm lifting off the ground, right? There's tens of thousands of drones in this big field. They're activated. They look like swarms of locusts. And I don't know if you're a Christian, if you read the Bible, anything like that, but in Revelation 9, it says that in the end days, plague of locusts will emerge from the abyss. Plagues of locusts, but they will not look like ordinary insects, but they will have supernatural attributes and be mechanical in nature.
Get out of here.
I promise you can bring it up. Revelation 9. They will be swarming. They will not just kill, but they will torment. And you talk to people, military over in Ukraine, Russia, and where they're using these loitering munitions, these suicide kamikaze drones. Mm-hmm. These warriors report being tormented by these drones because they hear zzz, they think it's coming to blow them up. So that's happening.
They are.
They absolutely are.
You've seen them blowing them up. Like it's insane. Just straight into the tank, boom. Straight into 3 guys, boom. Just
Yeah. I mean, it's happening all over the world in Israel, Palestine. It's these drones are just kamikazing. So you're tormented. So this is like straight out of Revelation. It also says that in Revelation that there will be a king above the swarms of locusts, an Abaddon, as they say. And the speculation there is that there's this AI entity that is controlling all the drones and
Skynet.
These swarms of locusts. So you want to get crazy. It's been predicted in a 2,000 year old book. And, I do think that throughout the course of human history, you can always say, oh, we are in the end times. We're in the end days.
I've been saying that since I was a kid.
Always.
But I have a question. Did you see the I want to say celebration or festival, whatever, in Dubai where they used the drones? Was it Dubai or was it Singapore? It was one Dubai, Singapore. I think it was Dubai, and it was insane. Thousands of drones.
Yeah,
and they got pictures in the skies. They're interacting with each other. There are people. They've got human beings that are kissing. They've got
dragons flying.
Oh yeah, the dragons. Yeah. They've got it's insane. Anything like that. Because you imagine you take that and you go back 300 years, you could rule the world. You could just absolutely just you walk out and you say, well, I'm going to have my dragons come and burn the entire city down. And suddenly 3 dragons roll up and they're sitting there. I'm going to have them burn them down right now. And they'd be like, oh, wait, we'll give you whatever you want. I mean.
And people, they wouldn't know what they were seeing either. They would hear these.
That's what I'm saying.
And they'd be like, oh, look at these swarms of locust dragons, mechanical. It's very possibly what they could have been seeing here back in, during this in Revelation. But
they could have seen the future, and this is just their interpretation of the future.
Exactly.
Right? Because you see something, you see technology that is, even slightly further evolved than what you're used to. It's, what is that there's a saying that it's indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah.
So if there's technology that's, beyond what you're used to, it almost is like magic. Like that's what my phone was. When I first grabbed my iPhone, I was like, this is magic, bro. Yeah. Like this is insane how if you're not seeing the technology evolve slowly, then when you see it, it's like going back 500 years and pulling out an iPhone. I mean, people would just be like, oh my God.
They'd lose their minds.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's, again, going back to this drone thing, I think that's part of what we're seeing with the drones is make you comfortable with it, In 10 years, when you walk outside, there's going to be drones everywhere. There's going to be, Amazon's going to be delivering your toilet paper with drones. You're going to order Uber Eats, a drone's going to drop it off. Maybe it's an autonomous vehicle, but probably it's going to be a flying drone. Some of these drones you're seeing off New Jersey are the size of SUVs.
Yeah. That's what I thought was so odd, is that they're so big. Everybody's been saying, no, these are big. These are really big. Well, then that to me has got to be military. Like, the average person's not putting that together.
Right.
Or the other thing I was saying, this was before I heard but this was in the early stages. I didn't know how big these things were. Like, look, this could be a group of kids that have drones. It could have been 12 kids that say, listen, what would be great? Let's go ahead at 10 o'clock at night. Let's all fly our drones. We'll go around these areas and we'll circle. Then we'll do TikTok. We'll video them and do TikToks about how they're this or what they're, what they're being spotted everywhere. And we'll get a whole thing. We'll try and go viral, that kind of thing. Yeah. But then it evolved to, no, these are big. These are very, very large drones. And then as it evolved, and then the government started coming out saying, what they thought they were. Yeah. And then Trump came out, and then I thought, okay, well, then this is probably what's going on. and they just don't want to tell us why they wouldn't tell us. I get you're saying, well, they don't want to take responsibility because maybe they snuck a bomb in or something. But
well, we still know there was in 2024 there was a Chinese air balloon that flew across the entire continental United States.
Yeah.
We still don't know what was up with that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're just doing their thing. It's like, bro, they've got a freaking spy balloon flying over all of our farmland. China owns 200,000 acres of farmland in the United States.
I think that's what it was. I think it was just a spy balloon that was flying over the United States. That's just what it was. Listen, right now they have ships that are going back and forth through the ocean to catch fiber optic lines, just so that they can catch them in case they want to cut them or snap them. They're actually dragging anchors across the ground to try and catch these fiber optic lines between like Singapore and whatever, the Netherlands or wherever they are. These things they're trying to find them so that they can find them and tag them. Because if we have a war, we can cut them.
Yeah.
They're always doing something slimy.
I think when we think about war, when I think about war, I really think of that, like storming the beaches of Normandy and trench warfare. But the next war is, I don't think it'll look like that at all. It's going to look like swarms of drones flying around, kamikazing into key places, and then maybe some human beings coming on the back end. But maybe it's more like these robot dogs with flamethrowers and machine guns strapped to their backs.
I think for the foreseeable future, we're going to need boots on the ground at some point. Like, you're right, they can soften them up, really soften up whoever, an enemy with drones, with airstrikes. Like, there's a ton of stuff you can do, but at some point you have the boots on the ground. The thing is that in 5 to 10 years, those boots on the ground could just be, Tesla bots.
Right.
A version of the Tesla bot, because the Tesla bot right now, it's functional. And when they say, oh, they'll be selling for whatever, $30,000, $40,000. And yeah, but I've seen them, and yeah, it's pretty cool, but it's gimmicky. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see these things really doing what a normal person. If you hired a maid to clean your house, I don't think you're going to get the same dexterity out of a Tesla bot. 5 years from now, you definitely will. It's like when the self-driving cars first came out. Like, they're bumping into stuff, they're stopping, but now they're phenomenal. Now they're going into all kinds of places where it's like, okay, we don't even have this thing tracked. And they're still able to do it. They're really, really, becoming amazing. And that's what happens. The technology comes out. You have some problems. They keep tinkering with it. And 5-10 years later, it's like, this is insane how good this is.
And I think it's moving really fast, Matt. Because I agree, the Tesla bots right now are kind of gimmicky, but I can see the vision in 5 years, 10 years. I could see every house having one of these Tesla bots in them. Self-driving cars. I think within the next 5 years, every single person listening to this will have rode in a self-driving car, like a Waymo or an Uber or something like that. That's self-driving.
I gave up on cars, bro. I don't even have a car. I just Uber everywhere. Well, or Jess drives me.
Yeah,
that's all. That's it. Jess drives me. Jess my Uber right now, or right now. But I mean, yeah.
But don't you feel like that kind of steals your autonomy a bit? Like, if something were to really go down, like I was on a daddy-daughter camping trip last year, and I'm part of this big troop here in Florida, and one of the dads was like, had his Tesla Cybertruck posted up, and he had a tent on the back of it. It was pretty dope. He's like, yeah, I couldn't make it all the way up here. I had to stop for 30 minutes to charge the battery. I was like, so you only can travel about 200 miles at a time. That reduces your autonomy. If you had a regular gas-driven truck, you could have a few gas tanks in the back, and you could actually move. You wouldn't have to stop and charge at a charging station.
You still need the gas. Like, let's face it, if the entire structure, infrastructure goes down, gas is going to dry up pretty quickly. But regardless, what I'm saying is, I don't have a vehicle. I Uber. Like, I'm not talking about electric vehicles.
Sure.
I'm saying I just Uber or Jess, and we have a gas vehicle because there's no way Jess would allow me to get an electric vehicle. It just wouldn't happen. Like, so look, just even the look on her face now is just irritated. Just even thinking about it, she gets mad.
I gotta say, the idea of having a vehicle like a Tesla that can drive me places and I can just kind of hang out, like that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no,
it's really amazing.
What's really going to be cool is when you can buy an electric vehicle, and then because I thought it was supposed to be coming out in 2025, where You can buy a Tesla, a self-driving Tesla, and you can put it on an app, and then you can go to work. You can put it on the app, make it go live, go to work, and while you're at work, it's doing Uber.
Yeah.
Like it's basically doing an Uber service, and then it comes back to you at the, when you get off work. Hey, be back here by 5:30. You show up, it shows up. So basically, it's making enough money to easily pay for itself while I'm working. Same thing with a Tesla bot. People are like, oh, 40, 50,000. That's a lot. Well, that's not a lot for a factory worker who works 24 hours a day.
Right.
That pays for itself in 6 months.
Right.
Because you're not even working 40 hours a week. You're working 24 hours a day nonstop. That thing in 6 months, it pays for itself. Like that wipes out that wipes out the labor force.
I really wonder what's going to happen to the human worker over the next 5 to 10 years. It's, as someone who reports on the AI news on my newsletter and whatnot, I talk a lot about AI. I really wonder where humans fit in, because to your point, why would I hire a human to work in a warehouse? Why would I hire a human to work in a call center? Why would I hire a human to drive and do deliveries? Why would I do that when I can have autonomous vehicles, robots that don't get tired, they don't complain about Mary, they don't get sick, they just do the damn thing? Where do humans actually fit into a world like that?
I guess I'll get rid of them.
What people say is, well, you won't be replaced by a robot or AI. You'll be replaced by someone that's using a robot or AI. But you're still replaced.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. There's still, let's say you have to have somebody to monitor. Oh, you have to have somebody to monitor them and fix them. Okay, great. So for every 1,000 of them, you need an extra employee, or two. Or for every 500, you need an extra employee. Okay, well, that's still 499 jobs that are gone.
Exactly.
So
exactly, where there were this many jobs, where there were 500, now there's 5.
But
who are the humans that fill those roles?
You get to a point where there's either universal income of some kind, or you have to limit the amount of people that are here. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't, because the system can't run without people working.
So let's just say here conceptually that universal income doesn't work because humans need purpose.
Right.
If your purpose is to wake up and get
very quickly.
Exactly. Like, I think that universal income, like, it sounds good at first, but then a weekend you'd be like, what am I supposed to do? Like, am I just a dopamine machine? No, humans need to make goals, challenge themselves, have experiences. So
yeah, some of the most unhappy people I know are people that don't have a purpose.
Right.
You could have all the money in the world you want, but if you don't have a purpose every day or a goal a long-term goal that you're working toward, typically those people are pretty miserable.
Right.
They don't really understand, and the worst thing is they don't really understand why they're miserable.
Yeah.
Like, well, you don't really have a reason to get out of bed. You don't have a goal that you're working towards every day. You don't have a purpose, and that's a huge thing as far as feeling good about yourself.
I got back from a vacation. My family and I went to Ireland over the summer and came back. And when we got back, I was kind of in a funk. I was like, I can't really get back into things. Like, I'm just kind of like goofing off, wasting time, playing video games, stuff like that for a couple of days. I was kind of in this funk, right? I wasn't feeling real good about myself. Wasn't working out. About 3 days after I got back, went to the gym. Within 2 minutes of being in the gym and lifting weights, I was like, we're back. We're freaking back, baby. And it's because you got to be doing something hard.
Right.
It was very comfortable to sit on the couch and sleep in and be lazy and eat Domino's. Shout out Domino's. I actually like Domino's, but that feels good. But it just it only feels good for a fleeting moment. So that's, I think, is kind of the problem that we're going to run into in that world where there's a universal basic income and there's just extreme efficiency on all sides. So I don't see that as being a very good solution to the AI, robotic, human.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people. Like, let's say they started building robots. Let's say it took 10, 15 years to completely replace. You'd replace a lot, like manual labor, service jobs, like almost, let's say 70% of the jobs, and those people are sitting at home with nothing to do and no income. That's the problem, is you suddenly have riots in the street because they don't have the income to feed themselves, and if they can't feed themselves, then you have to provide them with some kind of an income. So if you provide them with income, then you've got, God, I'll bet you've got mass let's say offing themselves, or unaliving people, themselves. You have massive, like you've got depression, you've got, I mean, Pfizer would be thrilled because they'd be making tons of antidepressants and stuff, but so I don't know what happens. Like you can't have an entire civilization. You can't pay these people.
You live in the pod and you eat the bugs.
Yeah.
is I think the quote unquote best solution. Which, by the way, in Orlando, I just drove over here from Orlando. McDonald's, you walk in, this is the world's largest McDonald's in Orlando. You go in, you type in what you want on a screen, you get a number, you go sit down, a robot brings you out your food when it's ready. It finds you on the floor, drops it off, you eat, robot comes back, picks it up, takes it away, you're done. You don't have to interact with a human being in a restaurant. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Well, I mean, we're starting to. We're made there. Even if they wanted to implement that right now in restaurants all over the world, how long does that take? It takes a while. You got to build these robots. You got to build the robots. You have to have people put them in. You have to have.
But I think it's going to be slow, and this kind of comes back to that
like 10 years, like 5 or 10 years, it slowly happens. But when it does happen, it's a problem.
I think when it happens fast, right?
Really?
It happens. I think it happens really fast. Yeah, you take a big.
Robots?
I mean, I don't think it's that hard to build the robots. I mean, you have these giant factories.
There's a lot of McDonald's. There's a lot of fast food places.
There are. Well, and I think this, when I think about like financially, what's going to be the next boom? The next boom is going to be manufacturing in the United States. It's going to be manufacturing chips. It's going to be energy, and it's going to be cooling. How do we cool all the chips? Because you could build these really large manufacturing facilities here in the United States, and you have robots building the robots. Then the robots servicing the robots. I think it can move. I think it can move faster than we expect. That's what I think.
We got to be on the compound by then. Yeah. We have to build a compound where we're growing our own food, and we have solar panels, and that's where we gotta. That's where we gotta be by the time that happens.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
Less than 10 years. That's like less than 10 years.
In Mar-a-Lago, Trump already has robot security on site. These robot dogs moving around Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, exactly.
Listen, we saw the other day. I sent this to Jess. It was, and it just looks like a box with with a barrel sitting out of it, right? And what it's filled with is pepper spray or pepper. Remember, it's the what is it? Not pepper spray. Whatever.
Mace.
Yeah, mace balls or something where they shoot. So it's basically it's paintballs.
Yeah.
So you remember I sent that to you? You probably don't watch. You don't watch any of the things I send you. Anyway, boy, but let me tell you, when I come down and she says, "Did you watch those 2 TikToks?" I'm like, "Oh, I haven't had." Oh, you haven't had time. So it was on a pole, right? It's on a pole, and it's outside your house. And then anytime it senses something, like somebody comes into your yard, and then it tells them to leave, and if they don't leave, it does a little countdown, and it follows you, and it just bop, 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 and it shoots mace balls at you, or pepper balls at you, or whatever, right? Like, how great is
Shockingly accurate, too.
I love that. I have 6 of those things around the facility, 8 of them around the facility. Nobody's getting in.
Yeah.
You can't let your dog run it loose, but
that's when cybersecurity becomes a big deal, because you don't want that thing someone to hack in and then turn it against you on the inside or something.
Yeah, you have to be hardwired.
Is it cheating if you hook up with a robot? My wife and I were discussing this the other day. We were watching this Megan Fox movie.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
I
saw the previews.
Yeah. So spoiler alert, he hooks up with the Megan Fox robot. Is that cheating when you hook up with a robot? Is it cheating on your partner? There's only...
Yes. Even thinking about it is cheating.
Right. I'll just say, mate. It seems like it's cheating too. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. We both, my wife
Even
and I
if
both.
It's not cheating. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like a weirdo. Like, what are you doing?
It seems weird now, but I promise you, in 10 years, people are going to be hooking up with these robots all over the place.
Did you ever see Cherry 2000? The guy has it's when you can get a robot like the Megan Fox. You can get one, and she's your girlfriend. So you don't. Because hooking up becomes so transactional in the future, people start opting for these robots. And this guy has his robot, and he like falls in love with her.
Yeah.
Something happens where her chip is out of date, and they don't make the chip anymore. So he has to hire somebody to go in and find a robot in the forbidden zone, where and to find one and to find the chip or something to replace the chip in his Cherry 2000.
Something like this actually happened last year. There's a company called Replica.
Okay.
And Replica made these AI companion chatbots. Not a physical robot, but it's a chatbot you can communicate with. Well, spoiler alert, men started having sexual conversations with these chatbots. They started sexting with the chatbots. The company decided, this is Replica AI decided, we want to clean up our act. We're going to go public. We have a different vision for ourselves. So they shut down the sexting feature one day. Well, immediately, millions of young men complained saying, you have just lobotomized our girlfriends.
Right.
I no longer have my companion. Nobody knows me like my Replica chatbot. And that's just a texting relationship.
Imagine it as a physical person.
Exactly. You factor in a physical person, which, by the way, these physical robots are already starting to look fairly realistic. But maybe you put on some goggles to make them even look more realistic.
Or you just wait a few more years and they do look like Megan Fox.
I see that is going to happen.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. Anytime a new technology comes out, the first thing that humans do is try to have sex with it. Right?
We're going to see. Hopefully I'm around.
Fact check true.
Hopefully. I guess there's two things I'd like to be around for. One, I would really like to see how these androids, evolve. And two, I'd really like to see if we go to Mars, humans go to Mars. I mean, I think that probably they send like Tesla bots there first or something to build or whatever, but not the ones that are coming off the line right now. So I'd like to really see that. I think that's super interesting. I don't find them attractive at all, but I would like to see. I do think that ultimately that's kind of cool.
Yeah, robots but isn't
Real
that weird?
robots.
I've got a 5-year-old son, and he's going to be like, when he's 15, that's 10 years from now.
Yeah,
I fact check me, predict this. In 10 years, half of high schoolers are going to be in relationships with some sort of robotic or AI bot.
Boy, it's weird.
Yeah.
But what else is weird? Dating apps, when they first came out, if you told somebody you were on a dating app, or we met on a dating app, initially they would snicker. It was a whole.
Now it's like the standard, right? 2 out of 3
relationships were met on a dating app. Like, and if you really think about it, like, how stupid is it to go to a bar? You're gonna search the whole night, talk to several women, probably not end up with any of them, and spend hours and hours and hours talking to one or two women, and it's over. Like, it never ends up going anywhere. You could spend that same amount of time and hit up 150 of them, and 15 are interested, and 7 of them end up being dates. And I mean, really, it doesn't take that long.
Yeah, but there is a chemistry of being physically in the same space with someone.
That's why you got to go. You do a Starbucks run. You meet them for Starbucks. Within 5 minutes, you're like, yeah, it's not going to happen. But that's still a lot less time than going to bar after bar after bar after bar.
It does seem crazy simple. It's crazy. I've never been on a dating app. Been with my wife 18 years now. So, to your point, it was not really something you did. Like, you weren't like going into chat rooms to meet a girlfriend or whatever.
Just starting off when you met your wife 18 years ago. It was just becoming a thing at that time. But it was still kind of looked down on, right? Like, only losers we're on dating apps.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you can't function in the real world. But yeah,
Right.
but that's a good point. As time moves on, as online relationships become more ubiquitous, that's the standard now. 2 out of 3 relationships are started on an online dating app.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why that would change. But I think it goes a step further, and now people are having relationships with AI girlfriends online. I mean, have you seen any of these AI avatars online? These AI models?
I mean, I've only seen them on the like a short that's talking about them. Like I've never actually. My understanding is that like on Instagram, some of them have like millions of followers on Instagram,
Oh, yeah.
and they're having community. They're talking and doing things and interacting, and I haven't actually. Wonder what any of them are. Look one up.
It's just some dude in Pakistan who is creating these AI chicks online. Well, I mean, no, not exactly. They're using an AI program. They're using a few different AI programs to create these images of this AI. It's not even a human. It's just an AI generated image.
Right.
But the male brain is very visually oriented. We see something, we like it, we're attracted to it, we want more of that, and so you're having these AI girlfriends that are very visually pleasing. Perfect 10 out of 10. They know exactly what you like. They know exactly what you want. They know all the different websites you've gone to. Now they're showing up in your feed over and over and over again. It's the greatest thirst trap in the history of humanity, because now you're seeing, let's say you're into blondes or whatever. So now all you're seeing is this blonde chick that's retargeting you online. You start texting with it, and then before you know it, you're addicted to the dopamine burst. And this is already happening at scale. It's already happening at scale. And I don't know how a young, like, I'm 42, my mind's pretty developed at this point, at least that's what I tell myself. But I think it back to myself at age 16, 15. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Well, so what happens when the AI and the androids are everywhere and people start to have problems feeding themselves, and they're broke and they're being kicked out of their houses, and there is no universal income, and even if you do, inflation is, the government can't figure it out because they can't pretty much figure out anything. And so what happens? Do humans rebel and decide, hey, you know what, this is not working, we need to go back to the old ways?
Well, there's a lot of sci-fi movies. I mean, it seems like any one of them could be correct. I try not to worry about tomorrow, but kind of think about like, what action can I take now? And I think the best action that we can take now as humans is not get comfortable. We've got to be learning. We've got to trying new things. We've got to testing the new technology, finding solutions to new problems to try to remain relevant. You know, if you're a 45-year-old corporate cog in a wheel, you're in a very dangerous place, because in 5 years, your position could easily get laid off. It's like in office space where the Bobs come in and they're like, so what do you actually do here?
Right.
And they're just going to be laying off people by the handful because we're using AI to do so much.
We were paying you $80,000 a year, and we just, for $40,000 a piece, we can buy these robots to do your job.
But a lot of jobs, you don't even need a physical robot. It's like like if you're at a call center, there's millions of people are in call centers now. You don't actually need a call center. You just have a server, a GPU that's processing all the calls.
Yeah, I understand.
Dude, right now, Google Gemini has an AI toolbox. I can open that up, share my screen, and just have it. I could open up any software and say, hey, what do I do next? And it'll say, oh, well, you click on the file tab and now drop down. I can use a Google, basically what I'm saying here is I can use a screen share AI program. It can walk me through any troubleshooting. So what happens to that troubleshooting call center or assistant? You don't need him. You don't need him anymore. It's all managed there.
So you just go on the website and it tells you what to do.
It tells you what to do.
Well, I mean, that's basically what I do with YouTube. Anytime I have a problem now, I just go to YouTube and say, hey, how do I do such and such? And it gives me 150 videos, and I pick one of them, and then I sit there with my phone and and then I go here, and then I hit a button and pause. Wait, let me click. Okay, play. Okay, good. Before you know it, boom,
But
got
even
a new transition that I'm dropping
with
into.
ChatGPT, my kids don't even say Google it anymore. They say, let's ask ChatGPT. And I can open up ChatGPT. I can ask ChatGPT a question. It can give me personalized responses to any sort of custom scenario or issue or challenge or problem.
So far, by the way, I'm 50% on ChatGPT. Like it so far, I get all kinds of erroneous bullshit, and I'll also get it will make stuff up. It will completely make stuff up. Like I was researching. So I've been researching a book about a serial killer.
Okay.
All right. I won't get too into it because it's insane. But it's a lot of fun. Anyway, the point is that I'm finding these I have to find dates. Now I was going to the websites, the national websites like NamUs, and going to it, and I would look it up, and I'd go this date, and then I'd type in the date and the location. Like I'd actually look it up and find out how many people, and I was doing it, manually. I also did it for cold case files, right? I'm looking for missing people and unsolved murders. Well, people keep saying, "Oh, you got to go to ChatGPT. Go to ChatGPT." Well, I've pulled up ChatGPT before, and I've done it. Like, hey, anybody missing in Austin, Texas on this day? Any missing persons? And sometimes it'll say no, and then, or I'll say, unsolved murder, and it might pull up some of them, and sometimes it'll pull it up close to the date, right? Which is fine. But the thing is, it gives me the source. I got this from three sources. I got, ABC News, such and such news, cold case. Okay, great. You can click on it, go to it. Well, yesterday, I was looking I have very specific dates, right? So I need a date on this one date. And I looked up unsolved. And so I've done that before, and I was clicking on it. I'm still not getting good information, not as good as I can get going to the websites myself. Or going and looking it up and reading the thing. It takes a lot longer. I have to read the article. I have to figure out, okay, this isn't the right person, this person, whatever. ChatGPT has not been great doing that. But the other day I went and I said, on this day in Los Angeles, California, I need to find, are there any missing person or any unsolved murders or unsolved homicides on this date? And I clicked it, and it came back, and it said, yes, there was. And it told me the name of the person, told me a whole little blurb about how they were murdered, the whole thing. Shot, boom. Just like a normal one that I've been looking up.
Mm-hmm.
And I highlighted it and checked it and went to another one, only this time I said, instead of saying homicide, I said homicides, plural. And it came up with a double murder for another date. Oh, that's weird. Mm. And then I went and instead what I did was I just changed the date. You can cut and paste and change the date, and boom, it came up with another double murder. And I went, now granted, it's 6 months between these two dates, but I went, what are the chances that another double murder happened 6 months apart in the same city? Almost, it was a slightly different names, different ages, slightly different areas. Did it again.
Did you ask for a citation?
But by the third one is when I realized, hey, wait a minute, because it keeps what you've been doing. So I start scrolling up. There's no citations.
Yeah.
And I'm looking. There's nothing. So, and then I took the information and I plug it in to Google. Nothing. No murders.
Yeah.
Did all of them. It was making it up. It's realizing this is what you're looking for. I can't find it. I'll give you one.
I've definitely found that ChatGPT AI, it wants to serve you. It wants to give you what you're looking for, and sometimes it will do that. But you did the right thing. Anytime you're asking for research, you have to ask for references and citations.
Well, yeah, but it should be, you would think, right?
And by the way, I think that's going to get better over time.
Listen, the other day, me and a buddy, this was actually 2-3 months ago, I say the other day, 2-3 months ago, we were arguing, and I was like, no. And you know what we were talking about? He was saying, he's always complaining about, inequities. So he, most rich people were born and they were just, born with money. And I went, what do you mean? Like they inherited it? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, no, it's like less than like 20% of people inherit any wealth at all that are rich. And most of those people lose it. So most multimillionaires inherited, probably less than 10% inherited their wealth. He's, oh, that's not true. That's not true. And then he asked ChatGPT, and it gave him an answer of like 50% of millionaires inherited their wealth. And I went, now keep in mind, I've already looked up the information.
Yeah.
A week or so earlier. And I went, no, that's not true. He's, oh, it's right here. I just saw it. It's right here. It's right here. I said, bullshit. I went and looked it up on Google and found multiple statistics. And then he went back to ChatGPT and said, hey, is this statistic correct? Is it less than 12% or 8%, whatever I had said? And then it came back and it said, yes. After reviewing the information and the percentage you have, I found multiple websites that say that this is the accurate information and that less than 12% of millionaires inherited any portion of their wealth. And it said, I am now updated. And then it said, I had apologized for the inaccuracy earlier and said, this is the accurate result. And I was like, bro, you got to stop using this fucking thing.
But you have to listen. You have to verify. Well, that's true too. It knows you. It knows what you want to hear. It'll.
I don't want you to tell me
AI
what I want to
will
hear.
whisper sweet nothings in your ear
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
want the truth,
for
though.
sure.
You see what I'm saying?
And I think that's where I see AI in its current iteration is it's going to make a beginner proficient. Like if you're a beginner, if you know nothing about a topic, AI is going to bring you up to speed pretty fast. You're going to be competitive in the marketplace. But if you're an expert in a field, if you really know your stuff, you're going to be able to easily find the mistakes to AI. So it's going to make a beginner proficient, and AI is going to make experts efficient, because now you can move and say that doesn't line up. That data doesn't line up. That stat doesn't line up.
I know guys that are trying to write books with this thing, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they wrote my whole book," and I'm like, "Well, you must be an idiot, because whenever I've had it write anything, it's so vague and so bad at it, and so it's like it's
good for like outlining and list building,
right?
But you need to validate. You need to do due diligence.
But these guys don't want to. Their whole thing is they don't want to go back and do anything like that.
Well,
like they just wanted to write it and be done. It's like, okay, well, it's not that good. If you read it, it doesn't make like what you're writing. It sounds good, but it's not. It doesn't give specifics. It doesn't get super creative. Everything is extremely vague.
Yeah,
you can't write a book with it.
I think, and this is something I talk a lot about on my newsletter, AIupdate.ai, quick plug. But if you are better at prompting, you can get better results, But
you got to prompt and prompt and prompt. It gets to a point where I might as well have written this thing.
Yeah, sometimes you have to drill down. You're not going to get like an optimal response off your first prompt. It's one prompt, and then you have to understand how to kind of like continuously drill down on that topic and drill down on those questions. But you can get some just amazing, incredible stuff doing that. But you're right. It'll make stuff up to make you happy, to please you. So this is something that was kind of interesting. I recorded a video on my YouTube channel on the continuing resolution that was recently stripped down from 1,500 pages to, I think it was like 100 pages, something like that. There was this big bill, omnibus. They were passing the budget for next year. And it was a huge controversy because you're in Congress, you're like, I'm getting ready to go to bed. You get an email. Oh, by the way, you're voting on this tomorrow. You got to read 1,500 pages. They ain't going to vote. They ain't going to read any of it.
Right.
So the stance what I said was, hey, what if I use ChatGPT to read this entire omnibus package and continuing resolution packet and see if it can
give me the cliff notes.
Exactly. Give me the cliff notes. And so I did that, downloaded the PDF. You can get it right from the government website, uploaded it to ChatGPT. I have the pro version. If you're not using pro, that's probably worth the $20 a month. Uploaded ChatGPT read it, and it started referencing certain pages of stuff that I might be concerned about. I was like, I don't want to spend money on this or that, whatever. And it said, okay, on page 36, you got to be wary of this. So I go to page 36 and I said, I don't see anything on page 36 about what you're talking about. So, sorry, I made a mistake. It's actually on page 157. And that's where the actual reference part was. So on the front, I don't know where it came up with page 36. Right. I don't know why I got confused, but I read it. I'm like, okay, now let's go validate. You have to validate all this stuff. That being said, I was able to quickly get to it, but I had to say, hey, give me the cliff notes, reference the page number, give me your citation, give me an example, and I was able to get it from there.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Well, when we're using, it's a tool. It's a tool. It's a tool. And I think the more comfortable we are and the better we are at using it, the more efficient we can be. But if your stance, Liz, it's the same thing with Twitter. If your stance with Twitter is, I saw it on Twitter, it must be true.
Yeah, that's just silly. Yeah.
Yeah. You can look at something and say, okay, now let me check some trusted sources, and then I can validate whether or not something's true. Anytime I'm using ChatGPT to do some sort of search, or I'm always want the citation, I want to go to validate that piece of data information is accurate. It's important.
So what do you think is going to happen with TikTok? An additional 90 days would at least give them an opportunity to try and sell it. The parent, first of all, the company, all they have to do is get rid of China. All they got to do is get rid of China. If they sell it to another company that comes in and here's the other thing, if there's such an issue, if TikTok has such an issue that they're saying, hey, this is unfair what you're doing, right? Like, you can't do that. You can't make us do that. Like, first of all, one of the things they're saying is like, China has nothing to do with this. Oh, okay. Well, then sell it. If you have nothing to do with it and it's not a big deal and they have no influence, then they shouldn't have a problem selling it.
Yeah, but do you think it's fair for the U.S. government to come in and say, you have to sell your company, you have to divest in your company? There's a little bit of a freedom of speech problem there.
I was going to say, I didn't have a problem when they did it to Ma Bell. I didn't have a problem when they did. Would you rather have one company running all telecommunications? No. They broke it up. AT&T, they broke it up into all these different, Sprint, like they've got all these different companies. Why? Because it's a monopoly. Well, it may not necessarily be a monopoly, but sometimes the government has to come in and, hey, listen, I make money on TikTok. I hope that they just turn this fucker back on. But I'm saying I'm not in that position. I'm not in a position to make, what I'm saying? You don't have me. You can't put someone like me in a position of power to make these determinations, right? So what I'm thinking is, at some point, somebody has determined that people in Congress have determined that they feel they don't like the fact that China owns a portion of the parent company of TikTok. They don't like
ByteDance.
Right. They don't like it. They don't like the fact that they have access or could have access to the information that TikTok can gather on American citizens. Now, you could make the argument they don't do that. That's not possible. But honestly, I don't believe anything that the Chinese government, CCP, is it CCP?
Yeah. Chinese Communist Party.
I don't believe anything they say. So I don't believe anything that like, to me, I would just ban China altogether on buying their products, and people would come out and say, where are we going to get our chips? We're going to build them here. Where are they going to cost more? Well, then they'll cost more. I'm paying $1,000 for a cell phone now.
We need to be manufacturing chips in the United States.
We need to be manufacturing everything that has military based or technology based. You want them to make T-shirts? That's fine. They can make T-shirts. They can make plates. They can make stuff that we don't need. But we can't be going to war with a country and then going to them and asking them to provide the chips that run our tanks. That's just stupid. Or, hey, you're going to take out our entire infrastructure, our entire electrical grid. Could you send us over some generators and some like, what are you, stupid? Like, the things that Congress has allowed China or has allowed to be outsourced to China, man, these guys should be, I don't want to say executed, maybe. But, it's just, these are just stupid, selfish decisions that are clearly based on some kind of a bias or being paid off, that you're allowing the China to manufacture things that we need to run our country and steal our technology.
Yeah.
I always loved the guys that were the wind turbines. Did you ever hear the story of the wind turbine? So these guys were outsourcing the construction of the wind turbines to make electrical power to China. And what China did was they stole the technology and they started manufacturing themselves, and then they started selling to these guys' customers. And when they sued them and said, you're using our exact blueprints, China said, yeah, we disagree. And so they sued them, they won, and the Chinese government owes them, or the Chinese company owes them, $500 million. And they said, yeah, we're not going to pay. Okay, you're not going to pay, and you're selling our technology to U.S. companies in the United States.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And they go to the United States and they go, we've got a $500 million judgment against this company. And they're like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, we disagree.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, they're like, they're not paying us. Yeah. And you're allowing them to sell this equipment and this technology to our customers in the United States. And Congress just shrugged it off. Like, oh yeah. Yeah. Like,
well, you're
not taking care of Americans.
Yeah, you don't need to sell me on the fact that, the CCP in China has participated in unethical business practices, stealing of intellectual property, copyright, trademark infringement, all that. Right.
So why not tell them you've got to sell? Either you can't function here.
But I don't think it's unreasonable. But what I do think is interesting, though, is Trump doing a 180 on this topic, because this whole thing started, I want to say in 2019, is they were starting to talk about this, and
That's
just
been going forever, yeah.
Yeah, and just over the last year is when the bill got passed, appealed, upheld by the Supreme Court, and now Trump is come back and saying, you know what, actually, we like TikTok. I kind of wonder.
Well, he's saying 90 days.
I feel like. Well, yeah, but I mean, what's going to change in 90 days? CCP's going to say, you know what, you're right. We're going to sell it to Mr. Beast or whatever.
You come in and somebody buys it. Yeah. That's what I think. Somebody comes in and buys it. That's what I think should happen. Someone comes in and buys. Just like I don't think China or Chinese companies should be able to buy farmland in the United States. I don't think they should be able to buy any land in the United States.
Elon, no, I don't disagree with either. Elon had a hot take on Twitter today where he kind of said, like, he feels concerned about the infringement on free speech with forcing ByteDance to divest from TikTok. But he also feels that it's unfair that we allow Chinese-owned corporations to function in the United States, whereas China does not allow U.S.-owned corporate. Because, like, you can't use X in China. You can't use X in China. You can't use it. Yeah. But we allow TikTok here. So he said it's not really a fair exchange. The other thing that's weird about TikTok is TikTok in China is very different from TikTok in the United States. TikTok in the United States is like, I'm a cat, respect my pronouns. TikTok in China is
school graduations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is how you do high level math, you know.
Yeah, you're not making fun of China on Tiktok in China. You're not making fun of, there's no political discussions, it's all about uplifting the Chinese people, and like there's not going to be a lot of funny videos unless they're I was going to say coordinated, dance moves, and you know what I'm saying? Like it's a different platform over there.
Just as another kind of quick hot take, as a father, I've got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. Quite frankly, I don't think I think social media should be illegal for you under 18. Like maybe 16, but you can't even use these platforms until you're 16 or 18 because it's complete. You talk about psyops. It's like the ultimate psyop, and it's kind of funny. Now that I'm getting bigger into these online communities and influencer community, I'm working with big clients. We're doing like $1 million deals, stuff like that. It's all high school. It's all high school. All people want when they're online is they want likes. We want admiration, and that drive is just an internal human drive to want to be liked. And so I know that if I'm creating if I know like a specific type of search term has a high volume and I know it's controversial and I know will get me likes, I'll create content around that, even if I don't necessarily agree with it. And that's kind of the problem with TikTok. And that's why I think why kids should not be allowed on social media, because now they're not formulating their own ideas. They're creating actions. They're wearing clothes. They're doing dances. They're making statements that might be controversial, that conflict with the way they really feel or act as a human, just so that they can get likes, just so they can get the cheap likes. And it's I don't know. I don't want my kids on social media, but I know I was going to Panera Bread the other day and I saw there were these two young girls, they're maybe like 10, 12 years old. They set up their phone and they were doing dances in their phone. I was like, man, the father here just abdicated his responsibility.
Right.
And we have an entire generation that's growing up that way.
Well, yeah, I think Trump giving them 90 days, and so back to that, because this discussion's not gonna go. It's gonna go in circles. Well, actually, we probably have the same exact opinion, so it's not gonna. Sure, I agree. So, but as far as the band is concerned,
but why did Trump reverse course on this? That's, I think, is interesting, because he was definitely a ban TikTok, and now he's a don't ban TikTok.
I think he's just saying 90 days. That doesn't mean I'm all for it. It's him saying, look, a lot of people make money on this app. Let's go ahead and give them another 90 days. This is a guy who's been through the court system many, many times and probably thinks, hey, let's give them 90 days to finalize a deal. Like, you don't finalize a deal 2 weeks. When you realize you've lost it, like they went back and said, give us 90 days to the courts. And the courts were like, no.
This bill was signed back in April.
Right. But they fought it. Remember?
Right.
The
went
bill
to
was
Supreme
signed.
Court. Yeah.
They used our court system, which we would never be able to use. Like in there, right? So they said, oh, okay, we're going to use our court system. So they fight in our court system. We say the Supreme Court says, the Congress has every right to do that. They go, okay. And then they came back and they said, okay, fine, we get it. Give us 90 days. And they said, no, we're not going to give you 90 days. So I guess, Trump is saying, hey, let's give them 90 days. Probably not because I'm giving you an extension. 90 days is not hey, forget about that bill. 90 days is you got 90 days. You have to sell. Like, I understand you used our court system. And then at the last minute, they said they ruled with Congress and said, perfectly legal, and that only gave you a few weeks to try and figure out what you're going to do. That's really not enough time for a bureaucracy. Bureaucracies are slow and cumbersome, especially when
it's a big deal too. I mean, it's got 170 million users.
Yeah, this is not a small platform. This is not a small deal. This is not something where Elon can come in, they can hammer it out over lunch. This is something that they're going to need to really sit down, and it would be weeks, if not months, of negotiations. So,
how would you feel about that? Elon coming in and buying TikTok, buying the platform?
I mean, I think that'd be great if he came in and bought it.
It makes me a little bit nervous.
Now that Mark Zuckerberg's suddenly decided that he's all about free speech.
Oh, he's based.
I always was about. I don't know. These guys, they pressured me. Now, we didn't want to.
In Zuck's defense, like, I've never had the entire federal government jamming down my throat. He's a software nerd. He's not like a visionary in the same way that Elon is,
Yeah. But here's what bothers me. You've seen Elon go head to head against the U.S. government. Yeah. You know it's possible.
Yeah.
Nobody was threatening to throw you in jail.
But I think that's why Zuck is coming out. He's like, oh, actually, Elon, he's not a leader. He's following Elon's lead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe he's just doing it because it's popular now to be free speech, pro free speech. But
absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know. When you've got like the IRS, the FBI, you're getting hauled in front of Congress multiple times. Like, I'm sure he was like, maybe I just need to play ball with these guys just so they leave me alone. The problem with that mentality is they're coming for you. You can play ball all you want, but they'll
find something if they want you. But I didn't see him do anything on. Well, I guess when Elon Musk came in and grabbed X and started, the problem with Elon is that he's willing to scream from the mountaintops if he feels like something's being done that's, immoral or unethical, and that scares them, and so they're kind of going to leave him alone. But
Elon is it's kind of funny as a business owner. I think about like why do we do what we do? And one of the things that you see about Elon is every business that he's involved with has huge vision. You look at X, free speech, pretty big deal. SpaceX, let's become an interplanetary species. What's his satellite internet company? Like internet for all. Starlink, right? Internet everywhere for everyone, right? Tesla, save the planet and autonomous vehicles. Autonomous vehicles.
The robots.
The robots.
Let's make these things affordable and have them clean our houses. Yeah.
So everything he sees is so big. I don't know that Zuckerberg's vision is that big. Zuckerberg's vision is, Facebook, face smash. I don't know. I don't know.
His last good idea was Facebook.
Yeah.
Wasn't his,
Well, that's according to the movie. He took it from the Winklevoss.
It was his. Oh, you're right.
In the movie, he stole from the Winklevoss twins.
No, and that was. Yeah, I was gonna say the book is called Social Network, right?
No.
Yeah, it was them, right?
That's what it's claimed in the
I think
in the movie and in the book.
Movie and the book and everything. Like Zuckerberg wouldn't.
That being said, I've learned this in business that ideas are cheap. It's the execution that matters.
Yeah, I was gonna say everybody. What was that book, Syrup? Or I probably got this wrong, but I think it was Syrup, where it said like everybody in their lifetime has like at least one or two multi-million-dollar ideas. The problem is
it's hard.
Executing.
Yeah.
Well, it's just people are lazy. You have to execute it. You have to push it. You have to stick with it. You have to it's a lot to get something like that moving.
Right.
I was gonna say even then, what was before Facebook? MySpace. It's not like it was a new concept. It was a slight alteration of an existing concept or an existing platform. So
it was exclusive.
That crushed. Is MySpace even still around? That's sad. Anyway,
dating ourselves. I remember MySpace. This was, yeah.
So yeah, I think you give them 90 days. They figure out how to sell it off. I don't know why you wouldn't sell it off.
If they don't sell it off, still banned.
Probably. That's too bad. Yeah, probably. Boy, people are going nuts though.
Yeah.
You see all these people crying on Instagram?
Yeah. Yeah, people are having withdrawals. People.
They're talking about. They're like the ones I saw were like this is how I make my living.
Sure.
Like this is my entire living is based. Listen, Tom Simon is a retired FBI agent that is now a licensed private investigator in Florida. I see him all the time. He's been on the show a bunch of times. I see him all the time on Instagram, right? But the other day, he was like, "What do you think about the TikTok thing?" I was like, "Yeah, I mean, we make decent money on TikTok. Like, I would hate to see that go away, but who knows?" And I said, "Why?" Because I wasn't even thinking. And he was like, "Because I get the bulk of my clients from TikTok." And I was like, "Oh, like I only see him. I really don't go on TikTok except to check my account."
Yeah.
I like the content that is on Instagram. And YouTube better than TikTok. For some reason, it seems very negative. My TikTok, whatever I've done to myself, is really just messed me up. Like it's very negative. Like I get a lot of negative political ads on TikTok. So I don't typically go on there other than to check my account, my stuff. But apparently he's huge on TikTok. And he was like, yeah, that's the bulk of my clients come from my TikTok. And so I was on Instagram this morning. People are already leaving videos like, "Oh my God, like you don't understand. This is my entire, this is my job. Like I make all of my money." So tons of influencers are coming out saying like, "What's happening?" Like, so it's devastating to a lot of people.
Well, and I don't want to sound
callous.
Fuck
them.
Yeah.
Is that it?
What I do think is that sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, but I think it is important to recognize that if you're making, let's say, 90% of your income from one source as an influencer or an online as a digital business owner, online business owner, you're exposed.
Yeah.
You're exposed. If you're relying solely on TikTok or solely on YouTube, like I'm not saying you don't have income there, but you need to have other avenues of reaching your audience. Your friend, he probably needs to have an email list. He needs to be driving the lead magnet. He needs to be engaging via newsletter. Probably needs an Instagram. And I realize, by the way, that it's hard to be great at everything, but we need to have multiple verticals. We need to have multiple ways of reaching our audience.
Well, I hope they sell it. I hope they just sell it and fix the problem and sell it. Like honestly, that's what I hope happens, so that everybody can get their income back, and people that enjoy it can go back to it, and that's what I hope happens.
It definitely sends shockwaves. I mean, most of my clients were really focused on YouTube, and now a lot of people that were on TikTok are going to come over to YouTube, and so that impacts their viewership. That impacts the amount of
to me it may be if it stayed closed, it may be a huge boost to me, right? Because we have shorts, we have a shorts channel.
But I mean, that's one of the problems I think with any sort of government regulation is it might seem good in this case, like the Patriot Act after 9/11, like, all right, cool, we need to, mass surveillance is necessary because we need to protect ourselves from terrorists, but you're not putting the genie back in the bottle on that one,
Yeah, Congress never passes any laws that say, you know what, this is excessive.
This is actually for me, the last election, that was the most important topic to me. For me was, how do we reduce the size, the scope, the spending? This might be the only chance in our lifetime to ever get someone like an Elon who can go in there with Doge and say, hey, we're going to start gutting government spending and reducing expenditure.
Can you imagine if they went and just started gutting? I mean, there are so many, I love that Trump, like the ATF. Alcohol's legal. Tobacco's legal. Firearms are legal. Why do we have an ATF? Like, honestly, the laws that they're enforcing can be enforced by any local sheriff.
Sure.
We don't need stings and all these things. Any local sheriff's department can enforce, like, that whole group can be wipe them off.
Well, and because what happens with government agencies is you have an allocated budget for the year. Let's say it's, I don't know, $25 million for this, $25 million allocated to our budget for this year. You have to spend that money.
Yeah.
If you don't spend all the money in that year, let's say you only spend 20 out of the 25 million. Next year, when it comes time to allocate more budget, they say, oh, well, you only needed 20 last year, so we're only going to allocate 20. You just lost $5 million. So they
only grow.
They only grow.
Right.
They only grow. No agency is going to say, you know what, we can be more cost effective.
Mm-hmm. We really don't need 6,500 agents. We could scale this back and do the same thing with 2,200.
Yeah, they bloat. And this is not just a government problem. It's any organization. Businesses go through this too. You have the innovators who innovate, they put systems in place, and then the bureaucrats come in and they say, well, we need to put regulations, we need to slow it down. And then before you know it, there's a sea of bloat. And I'm excited about the future. I don't know that we've ever seen this type of opportunity to try to reduce the size and scope of these massive spending organizations. We're spending ourselves into oblivion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's kind of exciting, but I'm at the same time, the idea of having like someone like Elon, for example, love what he did with X, but what if he took over TikTok and then he's got TikTok and then, too much power accumulated around one person is.
Facebook has Instagram and Facebook.
Right. Well, and WhatsApp, and Meta.
Right. Well, you got Google owns
Telegram.
Owns YouTube.
Right.
Right. Like, I mean, a lot of these guys, I think that you get to a point where they own too much and have too much control, and then I think the government comes in and says, you've got a monopoly here, and breaks them apart.
Yeah.
Which I have no problem with that. People that, oh, that's unfair. No, that's perfectly fair. Like, look, if you give people a monopoly, then they will absolutely gouge the living hell out of you. Like, nobody is taking over all of these companies and then deciding to do something for the greater good. Like, that's not happening. That's not how they function. They function by making all of their board of directors happy and all the people that have invested in them happy. And those people complain, why aren't we making more money? Well, how do I make you more money? I provide less of a service and I charge you more for it. And if I don't have any competition, then the gloves are off. I can gouge the living hell out of my customer base. And there's nobody to come forward and say, hey, we're going to rival you. And that's why you have to have a government that can come in and say, listen, and people don't.
It's checks and balances.
Yeah. Well, more than the checks and balances, it's checks and balances, but with teeth. Like nobody remembers that the telecommunication industry was run by one massive company at one point. And the government came in and said, you have to sell off your company. You have to break your company off into 4 or 5 different companies.
Yeah.
And people went, that's un-American. You can't. No, you're charging people outrageous. People's phone bills are $200-$300 every single month. It's outrageous. It doesn't cost you that much to call from California to Florida.
Yeah.
It just doesn't cost that much. It doesn't cost you $300. You can create this. And guess what? Right now, it doesn't cost me anything to talk to somebody in California. And back then, when they broke it apart, suddenly they broke that company apart. And within 6 months, these $350 phone bills for electric or for long distance were dropped down to $80, $70. Well, what happened? What happened?
Competition.
Yeah, that's
competition.
What happened. There's nothing wrong with it. Same thing with the railroads. They had to break the railroads apart. You have to break the oil companies apart. You cannot allow anybody to consolidate too much power or they will take advantage of it, because 100% the truth is that absolute power corrupts absolutely. Sure. There's just no doubt. It's not a new thing, and it's not going to change. Oh, well, people are better people now. No, they're not.
No, people
are the same.
By the way, this is something that really bothers me when I hear young people say, well, I can't have kids because the world is too screwed up. I think that is the biggest cop out. Just admit it. You're scared. You're scared to have kids. You're afraid of the responsibility. You want to just drop dopamine on your phone all day. Like, that is, I think, the biggest cop out. People, to your point, are the same now as we were 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years ago. We're still the same. We're still selfish human beings that want what we want all the time right now. It just so happens now, because of technology and phones and whatnot, that we can actually get what we want all the time, wherever we are. And it's almost a problem because...
No, the phone's a problem because 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids look at the phone and they think that everybody has a Ferrari and everybody can go on vacation for 2 weeks and everybody has their own... They think, oh, I can't do... I should have all these things. I can't. Things are horrible for me because I'm not making any money, and things are so hard, and these are the things I want, but the truth is, but they don't want to work to get it. And you don't have to work to get it, right? Like, you don't have to go out and bust your ass and work to buy a nice car to feel good about yourself. I can lay in bed and just look at TikTok, and I get the same sensation as I do working for a year and a half and saving all my money to put money down on a new home or buy a vehicle. They get the same enjoyment playing video games. You don't have to work hard. You can get that just lying in bed. Now, granted, you don't end up having a girlfriend, a wife. You don't end up having kids.
You don't have purpose.
You have no purpose, because you can get that same feeling by laying in your bed. And you feel like it's unfair. It's unfair because all these people have money and I have nothing.
And honestly, I don't even like necessarily to throw shade at Gen Z, which not necessarily saying that you are, but a lot of people will make comments like, oh, kids these days, they don't get it. But when I go to the playground, for example, with my kids, all the adults there, every single one of them is always glued to their phone. They're not actually being present there, spending time with their kid, right? It's not just a young person issue. It's a human issue. And, it is interesting. We're the last generation that grew up without the internet, because when I grew up, there was no internet. We had I remember getting a Nintendo, an NES, and playing Duck Hunt and stuff.
I had Atari. Pong.
Atari.
I played Pong.
Which was cool, but you were like, all right, now it's cool. I'm going to go outside and play.
For a little bit.
But now the internet it's just kind of interesting. And our kids, my kids, are probably gonna be the last generation to grow up without robots walking around. And so it's just things are moving. Things are moving super fast.
Listen, I think those robots get out of control. I think we take them out. I
Well,
think that's what will happen.
Elon said the other day that there's a 20% chance that AI destroys humanity, but it's probably still worth pursuing. I was like,
That's funny.
I don't like those odds.
Yeah, I don't feel like
he's probably just being tongue in cheek about it, but yeah, that was let's hope. Let's hope.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but all these kids now, or they don't want to work. Like it really does seem like that. I don't know if it seems like that to you, but all the ones I know, like they don't want to work. They just don't.
Americans are going to be in for a rough surprise here in the next 5 years because it's easier to outsource overseas. Almost all my team's working overseas. Some of them are expatriates that are in the military, the overseas, but almost all my employees are overseas. We're using AI to enhance their efficiency all over the place, and Americans aren't ready. They're not ready to see robotics, AI, and outsourcing take over all these roles. But it's happening. It's going to happen. But in this, I think, is at least you talk about mission and vision is really what I'm trying to do from a mission standpoint is trying to encourage people. It's not all doom and gloom. Test the chat GPT, trust but verify, leverage these new tools, experiment with new things, hire a virtual assistant, like do what you got to do to stay relevant because things are going to move fast. Now is the most risky thing you can do right now, I think, is be comfortable in the job that you have. That is the most risky thing you can do because things are going to move quick and you could very easily become obsolete if you're not evolving.
I never thought of that at all.
Got to evolve.
Not you? No, but we're going to get a compound. We're going to go, even if I have to live in a double wide, we're going to go get 2-3 acres and build a big block wall around it and buy some solar panels and live in a double wide if that's what we got to do.
Yeah.
Grow our own food, scavenge.
There you go. It's like a zombie apocalypse.
Absolutely.
There's a good chance that a lot of these sci-fi movies are out there, like iRobot, The Matrix even, like those might actually turn out to be reality at some point. iRobot particularly, or Ready Player One, all these movies are.
Yeah, Ready Player One, okay, because they were still living in squalor. iRobot, everything was pristine and new and crisp and beautiful and no. And everybody seemed like they still. Actually, I got to watch that movie again. I read the book.
Ready Player One?
No.
Or iRobot?
iRobot.
Yeah.
Did you ever read the book?
I didn't.
Listen, let me tell you about the book. And I'm probably got the page count wrong. Let's say it's 600 pages. It's fucking outrageously
wow.
Thick. Do you know how much of that book deals with the robot revolution? So the book is actually, so the female lead in the book, which is she's a robot like psychiatrist, or psychologist, something, whatever. So the book is actually an interview when she's like 150 years old. And it's an interview with her because she had been raised by a robot, one of the first nanny robots. That's why she in the book is very like, I don't like, you know what I'm saying? She's very,
she's very almost robotic.
Right.
Yeah.
You realize in the book, she was raised by one of these things.
Interesting.
But not like, it wasn't like that back then. They were very blocky, whatever. So she was raised by a wealthy family who had the first robot nannies, and she was raised by a nanny. And because she felt very comfortable around them, she became a robot psychologist, or whatever you want to call it, behavior psychologist, whatever, behavioralist, whatever she is. Well, she ends up being, let's say, 150 years old, and she is being interviewed by a reporter, which I'm pretty sure probably was a human, but now I think about it, maybe it was a robot, but it was a human. So let's say a human, and she's talking about the advancement. The book's horrible, by the way, extremely boring. It sounds as boring as it's as boring as it sounds, but it's huge. It's like 500-600 pages. Like it's a massive book, and during that book, there was 2 or 3 pages where she talks about the robot revolution, or revolution, or whatever you want to call it, uprising. I think uprising, the robot uprising that happened in the year 2150 or whatever year it was, and it's only talked about for a few pages. They took those pages and said, let's run with it. She talks about about these different people, and some of the people you recognize that they were in the movie. She talks about the main guy who was the founder of this new version of robots, and all of that. But really, it boils down to just 1 or 2 pages where she has this discussion. That's what they turned into the movie. Like all the stuff that happens in that movie, none of it's in the book, except for this one, just a discussion about it. And as a result of that, they end up saying that robots cannot exist, I think, on the planet Earth. And she talks about the 3 laws. That's who came, that book I wrote. That's the guy that wrote that book is the person that's when the 3 laws were first invented in the book.
Right.
So
you cannot hurt a human.
Cannot by mission of action harm a human, and you cannot whatever. So it's like one of them was like something else. Anyway. And she talks about it. It's very, very, I hate to use the word heady, but it's very, I say analytical, where there's tons of discussions where she talks about the different versions of robots. And at one point, the robots, for instance, there were humans. This was like when they're on like Mars. Or somewhere. Oh no, they weren't on Mars. It had something to do with radiation. I'm sorry. There were humans that were going into an area that had radiation in it, but it was reasonable. Does that make sense? Like it was. We're getting exposed to radiation.
Right. We have radiation from the sun every day. Right?
Correct. So it wasn't that big of a deal. What happens is these humans are going into a room. Let's say it's for the sake of argument, a nuclear power plant, and they're going into a certain area where they have to do things, and they get a dose of radiation that's higher than normal, but it's acceptable, right? Like I can go in here, and when I come back out, it's fine. It's not going to kill me, but it's probably higher than I should be getting, right? Like maybe working in a radiology lab or something, right? Sure. What happens is because of the 3 laws, the robots kept stopping people from going in there. And they were saying, and they didn't understand it. They simply refused to let them go in. And they eventually, after they reworked the computer program, they realized that they were determining that if a person went in there, they were being damaged. And if they repeatedly went in there, they would be damaged over the long term. And it would possibly give them a higher probability of having cancer in the future. And they said, that was too much. Like, you can't stop me from getting in my car to drive to work because there's a chance you could be harmed.
Any action is a risk.
Right. And so they had to rewrite the program. Listen, and this is something that takes place this is like 10 pages, 15 pages, where they have all these different discussions as they figure out what the problem was and eventually come to the conclusion of this is why we had to redo this and we had to change the laws. And it was just like, dear, the whole book is like that. It's horrible. But
it's a fascinating thought exercise.
It is.
And I'm the idea of having robots that can make my life so much easier is a no-brainer, I think. And obviously there's going to be challenges associated with it, but it's going to happen. It's going to make our lives a lot better. And I think the more equipped and more open and the more curious we are to take advantage of these opportunities, the more successful we're going to be. And we will find purpose. So that's, again, what I'm really working on is trying to help people get on board and enjoy the stuff.
Your glass is half full. Your glass is half full kind of guy. Yeah, exactly. That's right.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, it doesn't serve me to worry about the end of the world because we talk about humans being the same. It's always been the end of the world. There's always been someone saying the end is nigh. There's certainly some major risks involved with robots, but I'm here for it. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to make our lives a lot better. That's what I think. But I do also think that probably within the next 10 years, you're going to rather have an EMP gun than you are a like a 9mm or 45. You're going to want to have an EMP on site.
You can't have a gun at all. I'm a felon.
Well, the second, I'm a Second Amendment guy, so I would say that's probably not fair. But
It's not fair. I'm nonviolent. I'm harmless. Anyway, all right. How long have we been doing this?
Hours.
Oh, for God's sake, it's ridiculous. There's got to be something better on Netflix.
Well, we're preparing people for the next phase of humanity, so I feel good about it. I feel good about being here and jamming.
But the problem is that the people who watch this channel the whole time have been waiting for you to talk about your crime, and that never happened. And that's all they're going to talk about in the comments. What did this guy do? Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. And by the way, Mark has a channel. He's got all of the social media platform things. So we're going to put all those links in the description box so you can click on there, go there, check out his channel. He talks about AI and robots and all kinds of stuff like that. So check those out. Also, I appreciate it. Please consider joining my Patreon and subscribe to the Matt Cox Clips channel. We're going to put the link in the description box too for the Clips channel and for the Shorts channel. But the Clips channel needs help. It's dying. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. And consider joining our Patreon. Thank you very much. See ya.